The Virginia governor's race just got weird. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, the Virginia governor's race pits Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears against former U.S. Representative Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat who I have been repeatedly assured is not a man. Now, this is the only
Well, none
GOP
of them
held.
are. Um,
So hard to tell. This is the only GOP held governor's race in 2025. Glenn Youngkin is term limited out this year. Now, Spanberger has a comfortable lead in most polls, anywhere from 4 to 12 points. And I'm not here to talk about the polls, except that maybe not after one Spanberger supporter went viral Thursday. She's an elderly white woman. You can see her. We'll get the photo up here. You can see her carrying a handmade sign that says, "Hey Winsome, if trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain." I should mention that Winsome Sears, the Republican, is a black woman, and that nobody in the crowd seemed to have a real problem with the sign until later. There's a video of this on Twitter. You can see this. The woman with the sign is being informed that she's getting a lot of attention on TV, on social media, and she looked kind of shocked to learn that the coverage was negative. Reporter Selena Zito said, there's a quote, "This woman just handed the Republicans lightning in a bottle." My old friend Larry O'Connor at WMAL said, "Moments like this turn elections. Let's be clear. If you vote for Abigail Spanberger, then you're on this woman's side." Uh, Bill, is Larry right? Is Selena right? Could this be a game changer?
well, I suppose it could be a game changer. Much as it always causes me acute internal distress, to be fair to these Democrats who don't seem to value that process, you can't hold a candidate accountable for what one person, one lunatic says. You
I
just
think
can't.
that's
Now, if you're aware of them, and obviously there's a big rally, I think you're under some sort of moral obligation to denounce them. I mean, if I was doing a speech somewhere or some kind of an event, and somebody had a sign that said, Nazis for Bill Whittle, which of course you see pretty much everywhere on every street corner. But if I saw somebody in the audience, with something like that, I would ask them to leave.
We used to do this at Tea Party events.
That's right. And most of those people, in fact, I'm convinced all of them were agitators, because I never met a person at a Tea Party event who was a genuine racist or bad person at all. But if you would see somebody who is showing that kind of attitude, I think you have an obligation to ask them to leave. But in the spirit of fairness and intellectual integrity, I don't think you can pin one supporter's comment or attitude onto a candidate. Now, with that said, we don't live in a world of fairness. I'm not even talking about media bias here and the left-leaning slant or anything. It's human nature to personalize things, and this is why Stalin, who I did an awful lot of research on, one of the most profound and horrible things that he said was, one death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistic. Personalizing things in politics is extremely effective. I recall when Obama was trying to push through the Unaffordable Care Act, and I think it was during one of the State of the Union addresses, and he points up to the gallery, and here's this sweet-looking little old lady, and she's 67, and he says, Madge Crapapple would be dead without this bill, and she's alive today because of this legislation, and so on and so forth. And I found myself saying, I don't want this little lady to die. She seems like a sweetheart. Maybe I'll go along with this socialized healthcare thing. It's very human of us. So that works positively and negatively. But when you see somebody holding a sign like that, it activates kind of the rage part of your brain, and one of the I go so far as to say is one of the two or three greatest dangers to our society going forward now is this echo chamber rage bottle that people find themselves living in these days because of algorithms. The algorithm knows what you're watching, puts more of it in front of you. It's my little brother, who I disagree with on politics, who said that he realized that the stories that Facebook was putting in front of him weren't stories that he was interested in. They were stories that made him angry, and that kept him more engaged.
Yeah.
So the short form is, again, I don't think you can hold a candidate to be responsible for what one person one loony who shows up with a sign has to say.
All right. Well, I had a follow up, but now I've forgotten it. So let's just move on. There was another old virtual world acquaintance of mine, Jim Treacher. You should read him on Substack. He's great.
Yeah, he's great.
He posted, if this woman was wearing a MAGA hat, this would be the top headline in America today. We'd know her name, her employer, and everything else about her. And I checked my conservative websites this morning, and of course the story was all over the place. It was all over X last night.
Yeah.
And Scott, while I'm 100% against doxing, I think it's just plain evil. It's up there with swatting. You're just trying to get somebody killed. But I checked the Democrats' two holy Bibles this morning. That's the New York Times and the Washington Post. And there were zero stories about this viral sensation. You surprised?
I am not. Although in this case, I support the editorial decision. This has gotten to be a weird thing because when social media itself becomes the story, then that means that any crank with a keyboard or a phone can generate a news story that affects the flow of popular opinion toward the election in disproportionately. And when the Washington Post feels obligated to cover anything that goes viral on TikTok, for example, or Twitter or whatever, X, I think that you're really stepping away from the field of journalism. This is not something where all of a sudden 57% of the American public is concerned about this. This is just a bunch of people on social media who have liked and retweeted and and hearted and done, thumbs up, all this kind of stuff so that it gets circulated. And, it's funny because, first of all, the sign's ridiculous, but
it's offensive as hell.
Well, and it's
and in a stupid way. What was she actually trying to say?
And does she really because she's talking about trans people? So is she really just talking about black people who were born white? I don't know what's going on there. So anyway, the story then becomes: does the candidate say anything about it? If the candidate says something about it, then it becomes a whole new thing that will tick off some people and mollify others. If the candidate doesn't say anything about it, that's the story. Candidate ignores protester at her rally that said something or whatever, or supporter at her rally who said something, or had a poster that said something, and that becomes the story. And you know what we don't get? Anything about the actual candidate. It's like the circus atmosphere that revolves around any campaign is more interesting to the reporters on the bus, so to speak, that have to tag along with these people. And so they're looking for some novelty, and that provided novelty. It also provides a picture. It provides some video and perhaps audio content. And so, if you're a really discerning voter, you've just got to let this stuff pass by you and realize that this isn't significant. Now, if everybody in the crowd was holding that sign, that's a different matter. And I will say, as a final note here, I don't really want anybody using my restroom. I want to be alone in the restroom. I don't want
Cracker Barrel and it says Scott only on the door. That's right.
I don't want heterosexual men in the restroom when I'm in there. Can you just leave me alone for a few minutes?
Just give you an idea of how things have changed, Steve. I mean, just the vibe change. It's kind of illuminating that the black candidate who's being racially slurred is a Republican, and the person doing the slurring is a big old liberal. from what I've seen of Sears, I thought she was just terrific.
Yeah, she really is. I like her a lot. I think young Virginia voters made a great pick with her.
She's a former Marine, isn't she a former Marine?
Yes.
And
I hope they select her.
Is she up or
governor.
is she down? Did you say in Virginia?
She's down.
Down.
Pretty solidly. Yeah, which is a darn shame. I think she'd be a great executive.
I
She
would like
served
to know
really well.
if I can get mustard on that spam burger. Am I saying that
All right.
wrong?
Instead of driving this one crazy old lady with her stupid sign into the ground, Scott kind of pulled the curtain back a little bit on journalism, and I want to pull it back just a little further and let you know that the stupidest stories you will ever read are the ones that say in the headline something like "controversy erupts."
Yeah.
Because a journalist has a Rolodex back in the olden times. Now they just have their iPhones, but they've got a kind of a stable of people that they can contact for good quotes on a story. So the controversy is usually nothing more than the journalist coming in with an agenda, calling the people they know who will generate the juicy quotes that gin up the controversy that the reporter wants to write about. And both sides do this. As I said, all my conservative sites were all over this crazy old white woman in her stupid sign at the Spamberger rally, and they all got the juicy quotes, except I think they got them from Twitter mostly, or maybe Facebook or Instagram. But the point is this: if you want to see real journalism, look for real journalism. Don't look for the sensational stuff. Don't look for the controversy erupts stories. Look for some solid news, and more often than not, you're going to find that on social media, on Substack, and right here at BillWhittle.com. So become a member. There you go. For Bill and Steve, no. For Bill and Scott, I'm Steve. This is what happens when you get me up at 4:30 in the morning, people. For Bill and Scott, I'm Steve Green. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.